All right, hello. So we're into our episode 6 full Q&A analysis of, the episode. So this is your stream if you have questions or you want to talk about a certain thing. We'll probably talk about each part of the episode, each plot line as the stream goes on. I'll probably get behind on chat. That's just what I do at this point. So feel free to let me know what you guys think about the episode, questions you may have, topics you want to talk about, all that stuff. I want to address something first, though, because I saw this last night and I've seen this a little bit this morning as well. I'm just going to throw this out there. If you insult any people that I work with or you actively say things that are disrespectful, you will just straight up be banned from the channel. That's not acceptable in my community, and it just will be. So I want to throw that out right away. If you do that kind of stuff, your time on this channel will be very short-lived. Secondly, I want to say this to my mods. If you do ever guys see that kind of stuff in chat, comments, whatever, feel free to just remove it. Like, just ban them, whatever. I trust all the mods that I have, and feel free to just do that. Yeah, you don't have to ask me or anything like that. I trust you guys with all that stuff. So, with that out of the way, hold on. It's bugging me a little bit, the framing here. Okay. It's a little better. Hi, Ando. How are you? Hi, Ricky. How are you? Yes, this was an episode of all time. I did put that in the title or the thumbnail. Is this the worst episode of House of the Dragon? I think it's up there. We talked a little bit about this last night. I think it's definitely in like the top 3 to 4 episodes that come to mind when I think about the worst episodes of the show. I still think the finale of season 2 is worse in terms of the damage that it did, but I definitely think there's an argument. So I'll leave it up to you guys. What do you think about the episode? A madman sees what he sees. That's Condal for sure. Green lighting episode 6 script. Yes. Hi, Alexander. How are you? I think it's too damn hot right now. I agree with you, Jordan. Here it's about, I think, upper 90s Fahrenheit right now. With the heat index, it feels well over 100. So, as somebody that has to do walks every day for my back, it was not a pleasant experience today. 007 Alicent on another mission. Alicent is doing things. We will definitely talk about Alicent. Dre, Aegon testing Tylan was amazing. Aegon needs more screen time. Yeah, I agree. And I think that's one thing we're going to talk about with Criston Cole's storyline specifically is it's really weird to me the way they've spent a lot of the time that they have in this season. Because it's crazy the amount of time we've spent with plot lines that have gone nowhere, that do not matter, that actively harm the show. And we've gotten so little of Criston Cole's storyline in this season. We have gotten almost no characterization for a lot of the Riverlands plot in general, with people like Oscar Tully, Roddy the Ruin, Black Alley. There's been almost no development for a lot of these other plots. And I think that has definitely hurt a lot of these better characters. Rhea, chill out, Rhea. Rhea's being a menace. She likes to claw up on the back of my chair. Hi, Zaz. How are you? Chances of White Walker Vision's next episode. I think it's possible. I have my money on we're going to see the White Walkers at least one more time in this show. So we'll see. I didn't see any disrespect on my end in the chat. So I noticed it personally. I had to time someone out. Or no, I banned them last night. And then I saw some stuff in the comments later at night / in the morning on the VOD of the live stream. So, yeah. First things first, I can't believe what started out as a joke among fans about Alicent going to Harrenhal is now actually happening. Yes, so Midnight, I even thought we got pumped faked with Alicent going to Harrenhal because everybody was speculating on that at the time when the trailers were getting released. So we've kind of known about this since way before episode 1 even debuted. But I kind of thought, okay, well, maybe some of the shots were from them in this tunnel, just given the vibe of those shots that we're assuming were Harrenhal, but no, they are going to Harrenhal. And it's just baffling. I don't understand who wrote that plot line and thought it was a good idea. It's a waste of screen time. It is further damaging characters like Rhaenyra and probably Aemond in the future. So let's just take a step back, right? So let's look at the Alicent arc of basically the last 2 episodes. So this episode, episode 5. So the whole point of episode 5 was Alicent believes that Rhaenyra is going to kill Helena's child. That makes no sense at all, given the Rhaenyra that has been shown in the previous episodes. But whatever, that is what then pushes Alicent to try and get her and Helena to escape. They fail at that twice in the episode, and the second time is even more stupid and actually goes nowhere. In episode 6, there's no follow-up to this, this danger that Helena and Alicent are in, being stuck in these secret passageways. Will they be rescued? No, that went absolutely nowhere. So then you have in this episode where Rhaenyra is trying to figure out what to do with Alicent, and obviously this is like the writers going, well, what do we do with Alicent? You know, she's tried to escape multiple times. We, love Olivia Cook. We want her to do something because she's a main character, but we don't know what to do with her character. And so they go, hey, Rhaenyra, go do something that makes absolutely no sense and is completely illogical. Go try to go to Harrenhal to kill Aemond, or at least help in killing Aemond. It makes no sense at all. And what's even worse, right, is the idea that Alicent wants Helena to be looked after, or at least not harmed. So what does she do? She puts a bigger target on Helena's back by saying that she's a dreamer. Why would you... It makes no sense at all. Because now that Rhaenyra knows Helena's a dreamer, obviously Rhaenyra is not going to just let Helena go free or whatever. Like, she's this very special Targaryen that has this gift. You would want to keep that very hush-hush. It just... the writing with Alicent is just terrible, just in general. Zaz, I feel what happened to Criston made sense in the beginning of the episode, as he didn't deserve a cliffhanger ending. So I think there's 2 avenues of thought with the idea of Criston Cole and why it was placed at the beginning. I think there's 2 main reasons that Criston and the Butcher's Ball was put at the beginning. The first one is to also demonstrate the idea of Criston's death. It's not supposed to be this grand thing. It's not supposed to be him having this really honorable or glorious death or whatever. And so putting it at the beginning of the episode, in a lot of ways, is kind of them representing that, because usually you would put that stuff at the end of episodes because so people can remember it and like hold on to that big cliffhanger as you then go into the next episode. And also, this was being screened early at Comic-Con, so you wanted to start off the episode with a bang, get people really locked in, because, the last few episodes have been a lot of setup. Not much has really been happening in episode 3, 4, and 5 plot-wise, or crowd-pleasing stuff. So I get it. I think, to me, I still think it would have worked better at the end of the episode. Because what have you now left your audience with? Now, I don't think I would be having this complaint if they had finished the episode off in not the most idiotic way possible. Like, let's say they had done something different or whatever, and the last 10 minutes of this episode just weren't horrible, then I might be having a different thought on this. But think about what you're leaving your audience for going into episode 7. The last thing they saw was Corlys being fake out death. Somehow teleportation is happening. Rhaenyra's awful decisions and how they're paying off. It's just like, you started the episode with probably the best part of the episode, and then everything after that was just ass. Like, I don't even know.
The Lannisters send their regards.
All right. Thank you for the super chat. F Constraints. I'd rather watch a History Channel style mock-up or mockumentary on the dance than this soap opera crap. Include maps and the conflicting accounts of events. I don't blame you. So this is an interesting conversation because there actually was something like this that I sometimes use footage from when I'm talking about Fire and Blood. There is a Aegon's Conquest, basically a little animated movie. It's very low budget, you can tell, but they have some of the actors from Game of Thrones, and it's about Aegon's Conquest, and it's not the most detailed thing in the world. Like, they leave out details, but I think it's like a decent representation of the dance, or not the dance, of Aegon's Conquest, that I think at this point I would rather see done than what they're showing us now. So I agree with you. I think at this point, it's just, we're so far removed from anything that is the actual dance that I agree with you totally on that. Thank you for the super chat. I do appreciate it. I feel, or sorry, I did that. Top 3 worst for sure. I'd say it's in there. I would say it's probably, to me, season 2, episode 8. And then I think there's like a tie. I think that episode 9 of season 1 and this episode are like right there for me. Voice of Old Town is right. I really don't care about Sunfire only Aegon. So yeah, I think, again, I didn't really get to talk about this too much during the live stream, but what I meant to say by that is, I think you can't have Sunfire pop out of nowhere because of the implication it has on Aegon's story. So, like, let's say that Sunfire shows up and saves Aegon's ass for some reason. Let's say it's in some scenario where people find out who he is and he's backed into a corner or something like that. And then Sunfire just magically appears with no explanation at all. That's a massive plot contrivance and convenience with no setup at all. That is my problem, is more the implication of what Sunfire will have on Aegon's storyline as a whole. That's more of my concern. I don't necessarily care about Sunfire the Dragon. More of the implication of that has on Aegon's story is what I don't like about it. The Daeron actor confirmed that Daeron's hair isn't dyed. Why the fuck did Ormond bleach fake Daeron's hair then? How does that make sense? I saw this on Twitter today as well. This makes no sense at all. Because how would Daemon not even know the hair color of Daeron? And again, it just goes back to the same idea, Ricky, that we talk about, that these things are all plot conveniences because the show does not know how to write to get to Tumbleton. Because they skipped all of the Reach stuff that happens in the book, they fast-tracked, oh, well, Ormond and Daeron have Tumbleton now. Well, what do they do? Like, none of it makes any sense, is the problem. And that's the problem with the show in general, is when you stop and think about anything that happens, it all falls apart. Like, that is a crucial detail. So, I don't know. Alexander, yeah, I actually have not rewatched any of the episodes. I used to do that, where I would rewatch the episode. I did that for A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and then do these live streams. I just cannot be bothered to rewatch these episodes. They're so poor quality that I just don't feel like there's any reason to. This is a hot take, but Alicent is smarter than Rhaenyra. That's like calling, I don't know, who are two stupid people. That's like calling D&D smarter than Ryan Condal. They're both morons, but like, one's smarter than the other. Like, that's how I view Alicent and Rhaenyra. They are two of the stupidest characters on the show. Jordan says, so since the Harrenhal eggs are completely TV made, what do you think they're going to do with them? So I want to point this out. I noticed that there's been some discussion about this change. Here's the thing. In the book, in the lore we have of Alice Rivers, I'm going to say this very not spoilery, or try as my best to do so. There are things that happen in the future that it would make sense if there had been a dragon egg left there by Dreamfire, by Rhaenys Dragon, while she was at Harrenhal. Because there are rumors that there was a dragon there. So, I personally don't have a big problem with it. I think it makes sense. I think it adds up. I could see how that worked. I guess the question you would have to answer would be like, did House Targaryen really not like check if there were any eggs left behind, or did like Alice hide them really quickly, or how did that all go down? I'm not that perplexed about it or anything. I think it's fine. I did not enjoy this episode, and as a shameless Kristen Cole hater, I'm disappointed they changed his ending from the books. Well, Breton, I think my disappointment is more that just like, and maybe this is because it's fresh on my mind. I currently am about halfway through editing my Kristen Cole video that's coming out tomorrow, and it's so frustrating because it kind of reminds me a lot of House of the Dragon season 1 and even season 2 of these big moments that the show should have spelled out for them because of the book. It's not one of those moments where you have to invent a whole bunch of stuff. And they just omit things, or they change things, or just slightly tweak things, and you go, why in the hell did you possibly do this? What made you think, hey, this was better if we removed an iconic line? And it's so weird because you obviously know they know that that line is said in the book because they hinted at it in the last episode. So I personally think that Kristen Cole's death and the Butcher's Ball, I think, was fine in the show. I think it's, of all the things I could possibly complain about in this episode, it's kind of one of the lesser ones. I think that it was good enough for the show, but it was not perfect. It was not as good as it could have been. It could have been far better. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And Ando, like going back to the Alicent thing, this is what doesn't make any sense to me. So Alicent tells you that Helaena is a dreamer and that Aemond is at Harrenhal, that he's there alone, Vhagar is not with him. Why wouldn't you just go, hey, I have Daemon here, I have Baela, I could use either Hugh or Ulf. In this situation, it'd be Ulf because Hugh was at Tumbleton on his shift. I can send Adam, send all these dragons at Harrenhal, and just check. Just check. And you have Daemon who has a connection with Alice, so it's not like, you don't know what you're walking into. That's it. It just makes no sense. And the idea is like, oh, Aemon would see us coming. Like, no, he wouldn't. Your dragons are like the only exception to fast travel. You would be at Harrenhal very quickly. Aemon wouldn't be able to respond. He's on foot or on horse. You could get him. It just makes no sense. It's so contrived. And it continues to force the issue of, why is Rhaenyra doing nothing? She does nothing. I mean, a point that I've made consistently that I still don't understand is, why are the dragons not killing any of the Hightower soldiers that are outside of Tumbleton? Why are they not seizing or stopping any type of food or resources getting into Tumbleton? It is mind-boggling the amount of incompetence that has to happen for the story to progress. Because if that stuff was not getting there, Tumbleton would have surrendered a long time ago. Tumbleton does not have the food to support thousands of Hightower men with also the people that are there. And then it forces Ormond into a corner. Are you going to feed your men over the people? Will the people start turning on Ormond like what's happening with Rhaenyra right now in King's Landing? It just is so crazy to me. It's baffling to me. Like, I know people really like the Daeron plotline, and I just think it's terrible. I like, not the actors, but just the way they've gone about crafting that storyline. So Zaz, I will say this about the Butcher's Ball in the show. They definitely, like, made it not feel like a battle, really. Like, because Kristen Cole had, like, 30 dudes. Like, Kristen Cole had more than that in the book, obviously. But, yeah, I don't know. I think it's just they kind of downsized the numbers, I would say. Have you seen the episode 7 trailer? Ando, I don't watch the trailers, just because I don't really care. And that's just my thought. I just don't care. We'll get the episode when we get the episode. It's not like a Night of the Seven Kingdoms where I'm super looking forward to the next episode. It's just we get it when we get it. Zaz says Condal does read the book, but he chooses to ignore it. Yeah, that's it. He's read it, or at least has people on his staff that have read it, but he just chooses to just do things that just I don't know. Do you think that Tumbleton's battles will be merged for the season 3 finale? I tend to believe so, because I don't know how we're going to progress through the story if they're going to save the second Tumbleton for, I'm assuming, the beginning of season 4. I assume that's what's going to happen. It's going to be somewhat merged, or at least tweaked. Hi, Kayla. How are you? Yes, Carl, we have a lot of toxic butterflies and toxic jetpacks. Yeah, Ando, so let's talk about Damon's plotline for a second. Because Damon, to me, is another character that is just infuriating to me. Let's think about what his plot is in this episode. So, instead of Damon being utilized in a way where he could take Tumbleton, he could help find Aemond, he knows the area better than anyone else, he knows where people would be able to maybe hide or whatnot. We have Damon who decides he's going to dress up like a gold cloak to try and find the assassins. He doesn't hide his hair, nothing. Doesn't wear a mask, nothing. And then you also have the idea that the gold cloaks all just desert Damon, which is like, here's the other issue I have. The show continues to like not do a good job of showing the scale of things. The show makes you believe that it's like, oh, there's 30 guys in the gold cloaks. And it's like, no, the gold cloaks are made up of thousands of people. So I highly doubt all 1,000 or how many thousands of people that they have just deserted, and now it's just Damon. He's a gold cloak. That's it. Whatever. And then he kills the guy. It's just like whatever. Like really, this dude didn't realize this was Damon, and then oh man, and then Daron the Daring gets a mention here, and it's like, brother, Daron the Daring has not done anything. That's not his nickname. Piss off. Oh god. And then, so I like Ulf in this episode, but the fact that Damon physically is like beating up Ulf in the middle of a town of people is just crazy. Damon is not this stupid. I don't even know. I don't even know. Yeah. Jack, thank you for saying Rhea is cute. She likes her attention. I don't know if she isn't in the background. She's usually in the background, but she is not this stream anyway. Alexander, I don't think that is going to be the theory that's going to happen with Helena, but we'll see, I guess. I don't think it's the worst episode, but Alicent's assassin is in my top 3 least favorite plot points, with Rhaenys killing the small folk with zero punishment and Alicent selling out her kids. Yes, I agree with you, absolute real cinema. It is up there as one of probably the worst decisions in the show thus far. Yeah, I think so. So Jack, you say this season has been better than season 2. I disagree with that by a lot. I don't like season 2. But I'll say this, at least the first 4 episodes of season 2 were pretty good. Like, I had all 4 episodes of season 2, the first 4, 7 out of 10 or higher. Episode 3 was a low point, but episode 2 and 4 were very strong. Some of the strongest episodes of House of the Dragon. Episode 1, I gave like an 8 out of 10. I thought it was a solid start. Season 3 has yet to produce a single episode that I think is actually great. It's produced a single episode that I think is like good enough, like a 7 out of 10. Every episode of this season, outside of like episode 5, then parts of episode 3, to me have been bad. Like, just bad. Yeah, I don't know. That's just my thoughts, though. The writer for episode 5 is on episode 7. Well, that is good at least. Again, I'm at this point now, though, with like the show where I really don't think it even matters. Like, I think the show has done too much damage to it that I don't know if it can ever really recover, in my opinion. Where are we at in chat? Corliss Stoneheart isn't dead yet. Yes, he is not dead. Based on trailer shots and stuff, we know he's still alive. He is going to be at Tumbleton. So they've done another fake out death. Okay, so this is another thing, Jordan, that we kind of glossed over. We haven't talked about yet. Is, like I said in episode 5, how did Tylan survive? How did he get here? How did he show up? No explanation at all. We're just supposed to swallow it, and somehow he survived. So now, yes, that is contrived bad writing. I have no idea how Tylan got here. The show didn't bother to explain it. We're just supposed to accept it. Again, it furthers my prediction that Sunfire is going to just show up with absolutely no reason, no setup at all, and we're just not supposed to think about it. So, yeah. Yeah, Corliss knowing about Tylan's whereabouts is weird. Yeah, agreed. It makes no sense at all. At all. Yeah, I don't know. That whole thing is just kind of just crazy. Ryan said the season would be total war. Has it lived up to that grease? Absolutely not. I personally don't care all that much about the wars and the dragons and all that stuff. But let's be fair here. Episode 1 had a big battle. Okay, wait. No, let's go through all of this. So episode 1, we saw the ending of a battle. They cut off multiple battles in episode 1. Then we see the Battle of the Gullet. Okay, fair enough. Episode 2, we didn't see any battles. We saw them taking King's Landing, which obviously was not a battle. Episode 3, 4, 5 were all set up, and a lot of it was filler. Episode 6 is also a lot of filler. We see the Butcher's Ball, which again isn't really much of a battle. It's a little bit of action, 6 minutes or so. So, like, has it lived up to that statement that this is total war? No, not at all. Tumbleton is stalled out, and that plotline has not done anything for multiple episodes at this point. The Riverlands plot, which was the war plot, has had almost no scenes all season long. I mean, no, you cannot say that this show, based on what Ryan has said, has lived up to that claim. No, you can't. Ryan, I don't know what their budget was looking like for this season. That is not something I'm going to be able to tell you.
The Lannisters send their regards.
Let me expand this out. It's not showing me your full name. There we go. Lady of Shallot, thank you for the super chat. I really do appreciate it. You say House of the Dragon has reduced the Dance of the Dragons to a soap opera with gore and dragons. As a very long-time book fan of A Song of Ice and Fire, this show has disappointed me beyond words. Thank you for your honest critique. The episode was buns. Yeah, I agree with you. And as somebody that loves Fire and Blood more than most people,
The Lannisters send their regards.
FC, I will get to yours in a second. But yeah, I feel as though as somebody that really likes Fire and Blood, I was really wanting them to do the dance. Oh, I screwed up my camera. There we go. I was really looking forward to this, and they've somehow managed to take a completed story and make it feel so small. And that gets into F Constraints, your super chat. Thank you as well. That they've made the dance feel so small. That's part of it. They only focus on Alicent, Rhaenyra, and Daemon. And then you have other side plots that every other episode they get a lot of screen time. Like Aegon got more screen time last episode, but now he got no screen time in this episode. And it makes the world feel so small because the Riverlands plot's underdeveloped. The Reach plotline doesn't make any sense and is underdeveloped. Aegon's plotline is underdeveloped. I just, yeah, I agree with you. I agree with both of you guys. Thank you for your super chats, but I 100% agree that they have not really adapted the dance much, really at all. Breton, yeah, I mean, here's the thing. This is how I feel. Like, I think a lot of you guys in my community are starting to feel what I felt last season. Like last season, on episode 8 of season 2, that was my moment where I went, yeah, this show is no longer even trying to be faithful to the source material. It doesn't care. It doesn't work as a show in general. And my overall interest in it plummeted. So I think a lot of people are starting to see that. I mean, I know that the show is doing well critic wise, but if you look on Rotten Tomatoes, season 3 has a 67%. That's terrible. Like that's just generally terrible in terms of the way the general public is responding to it. I know back in season 2, you would never see anybody on social media really saying much bad or criticizing about the show, and now you see it regularly. I think season 3 has split the community probably even more. So yeah, I just that's how I see it. Um, Super says season 7 to 8 level of quality for sure. I think this episode specifically was, fast travel. None of the characters make any sense. The plots don't make any sense. This episode specifically, yes. I think this season overall, though, has felt more like a balance between season 5 and 6, but this one was definitely season 7 level quality. Um, Damon banning Ulf from the city is hilarious. It's hilarious from Ulf as a character, but like for Damon, it just is just crazy to me. Um, Here's the craziest part though, Danny, right? Is Rhaenyra sending Alicent to solo Aemond, right? It's entering so bad that it's funny. It's crazy because multiple writers that are being paid thousands of dollars saw that and thought it was completely fine. That is what's so crazy to me. I don't even I don't even I don't know. Kenshin, right? You say no way Sunfire's alive. Bro wasn't breathing, eating, or drinking for weeks. This is my problem. As of right now, there is no situation where Sunfire should be alive, unless there was magic used or something along those lines. As of right now, 6 episodes in, they've done no setup to it, so we'll just have to see. That's all I can say. Jack, I don't know if I would go as far as saying the show is worse than Game of Thrones season 7, because at least with season 3 of House of the Dragon, there are times that I like the show. Like, not the episodes themselves, but plot lines or characters. Game of Thrones season 7 has nothing redeeming about it at all. Nothing. There is an Olenna scene in season 7 that's good. And outside of that, the entire premise of the season's bad. Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, but I think it's in between season 6 of Game of Thrones and season 7 of Game of Thrones, where I would put it right now. Zaz, no. I believe that the Dare on the Daring thing was just that, oh, that's what the character is named in the book, so let's just name him. That didn't happen off screen. We would have heard about that. And if they introduce it in the next episode that did happen, then that breaks all continuity that they've even had with this show. Like, no, none of the councils knew about this. None of it. No. Honeywine didn't happen. Matthias says, I give this episode a 6 or a 7 out of 10. Fair enough. What's this whole thing with butterflies that the chat is talking about? So, Bookman Jack, George R. R. Martin did some Naughtablog posts. It was a little bit after season 2, and he basically put in there that, he was talking about some of the changes. He started with Blood and Cheese, and it felt like he had a lot to say. But one of the things that he said was, all of these changes are basically toxic butterflies. Ryan Condal and the team might not realize it yet, but the things they're changing have major repercussions in the story later on. Now, he was specifically referencing Helena's child that she doesn't have in the show, or at least she's pregnant with now. What the child she's pregnant with now apparently is Maelor, we're going to assume. They omitted that character, which should have been in season 2 at Blood and Cheese, because that has a ripple then to later on. So his whole point of it was to say that when you stray from the source material, you can't keep the same story because now you've changed that story. So, for instance, you look at Game of Thrones. This happened all throughout the seasons. They removed Tysha. Okay, that drastically changes how Tyrion is as a character. You didn't do the Young Griff storyline. That massively changes how the Daenerys storyline is going to go in the future. You can go further and further and further. But that is more or less the idea of what the toxic butterfly thing is about. Joey, I agree that outside of Butcher's Ball, this whole episode felt like random filler. I would agree. So Joey, here's the thing, right? Alicent shouldn't have been a main character in this show. Going back to like, she should have stopped being a main character around the midpoint of season 2, if we're basing it off of the books. And they just are not willing to do that. They're not willing to make these main characters, these main actors that they have in their show, take a sideline role. And so they have to invent things. They have to invent, oh, what is Alicent going to be doing this season when she has nothing in the books to do? And obviously, she shouldn't be doing anything in this season. She is a prisoner. I don't know. Just makes no sense. But yeah. Token Mushroom, unfortunately, is definitely not in the show, unfortunately. Exactly, Zaz. They foreshadowed the book line, and they did absolutely nothing with it in terms of Kristen Cole's death. Who's a worse character, Alicent or Rhaena? I believe it's Alicent, very obviously. Like, she's done so much more damage to the story and has way more screen time. Like, Rhaena just has like 1 or 2 scenes at like every episode, it feels like, and she's just bad. Hi Dakota, how are you? Alexander, this is something I realized as well that I was kind of confused about. So you say that, is Ormond dumb? Daeron tells him in Daemon tells him in episode 3 that Otto is dead. And in this episode, Daeron is asking for Otto as his hand. Did the writers kind of forget that? This is the stuff you don't need to think about. That's what I get told. Every time I critique the show, I have somebody that come in my comments or chat or whatever and go, oh, you're just thinking about it too much. You're just nitpicking. I think that you should be able to think when you're consuming media, and doesn't make any sense, does it? But let's be fair. Ormond is an idiot. Ormond is a stupid character who makes baffling decisions. The plot contrives ways for him to actually be winning things. Like, when you like actually take a step back, go back to some of my previous streams talking about Ormond's actual plans, none of them make any sense. Like, just think about Ormond's whole thing in this episode. And I also just don't find the character enjoyable. I know a lot of people love Ormond. I'm not one. I find him one note, not interesting at all. They continue to have this fascination with him and his smelling thing, which is just not consistent, because then you start to question, how does he ever ride a horse? He literally had Daeron kill some guy who didn't smell that great. And then you now have like a dead corpse in here with blood everywhere and doesn't give a fuck. And then he's burnt to a crisp, and Ormond has no problem smelling. Like, the whole thing is just stupid. I don't like the character of Ormond at all. Daeron, there's room for improvement. I liked his scene with Gwen, but I just think the change they've made to his character was for the worse. But yeah. So Zaz, let's talk about that Hugh scene. So that's a good segue to talk about Hugh. So Hugh, who is this guy who, as of right now, they've only like started to plot the seeds for things he might do in the future. And so the big emphasis between Hugh and Ulf in this episode is, what have they gained from getting a dragon? Yes, they've gained some prestige, they have a dragon, but overall their lives have kind of been negatively impacted. Ulf can't live his life. He can't go to the bar. He can't do what he wants to do. Hugh has lost his family. And so we see Hugh sneak into Tumbleton. And the way it was done makes sense. One of the better, like, oh, I'm going to sneak into a place in this show, so let's give them their props. But then he runs into his wife, and his wife is super pissed off at him. So, you guys who are starving and couldn't get any food, your daughter literally died because of the state of King's Landing, was not Hugh's fault. Hugh then goes, hey, honey, I'm going to go try and improve our station. If I can claim a dragon, we'll be able to feed ourselves, feed any future children we may have, and get out of poverty. So that's what Hugh does. He goes and he does his thing. And then he comes back and goes, hey, I'm here to save you. Let's get you out of this situation where obviously I don't know everything you've gone through. And his wife goes, where were you? You know what's happened to me? It's like, okay, yeah, some horrible things happened to you. Totally. Hugh's trying to save you. He's trying to get you out of the position that you are in right now, where your family's basically being held hostage. They have Hightower soldiers that are now living with you. One of them has already tried to sexually assault you. Your brother died because of the incident, and your response is, fuck off. I'm cool with my situation. I'm gonna stay with my family. Hugh's wife might be there's a lot of idiots in this show. She's up there. She's up there. Like, and I think the whole idea of that they're going for is, oh, Hugh has lost his family, the thing that was the most important to him. But the way he's lost it, this show boggles my mind, because you're not supposed to think about this stuff. It's a show that you're supposed to be like TikTok brain, and you just like, consume it and just be happy. Oh gosh. So yeah, that's Hugh's plotline in the episode. I don't even know. So yeah, Deanie, this is another thing that doesn't make any sense. So you don't trust Alicent, but you trust that Helaena is a dreamer. Why, again, it all loops back to Daemon cannot be involved in these plots. Because realistically, what you could do is you go, hey, Daemon, why don't you go take Alicent, validate if she's telling the truth. If not, she's going to be in the black cells or killed, whatever Rhaenyra wants to do, whatever. But no, they're just like, oh, let's just let Alicent go fuck around in Harrenhal. Like, no. I don't know. The whole Baratheons covered in crap was lazy writing. So, okay, that part of it, I think I understand. Like, Rhaenyra had gotten information from Alicent that Ormond doesn't like smells, so you send in them with these smells to try and get Ormond off his guard, and then you can kill him, type thing. Again, I hate the smell thing in the show, so I still think it's stupid as fuck, but whatever. That's what they did. The problem I have is not that. The problem I have is, oh, Rhaenyra, obviously I get you being upset with Boris Baratheon, whatever, but you're going to go, hey, let's go assassinate Ormond with these Baratheon dudes. And then the Baratheon dudes don't even need to say, oh, I'm this Baratheon guy. Just say, you're Baratheon messengers. And then, like, the whole Gwaine situation is just null and void. There is no point of lying about who you are. Just say who the hell you are and then kill him. And then it's, like, even worse because it's like, oh, you could have just as easily have been in, like a private, like they could have said, oh, can we speak more privately, with like Ormond and Daeron, whatever, and then kill them. It's just contrived to create tension.
The Lannisters send their regards.
Let me scroll down. Danny says, D&D still messed up parts of Game of Thrones Season 2 and 4. but Condor and Hess would have destroyed it by season 3. Red Wedding would have been a series of misunderstandings. Yes, do not get me wrong. D&D were not perfect. I think season 1 they were pretty close. Like season 1 is to me a very perfect season of television as an adaptation. I think it's one of the best. It still stands up. There are hiccups, here and there, like the Littlefinger brothel scene where he's explaining his backstory is kind of a bad scene in season 1. But like overall, they did very good. The only thing I could say about D&D is regardless of the changes they made in some of the early seasons that had ripple effects later down the line, they gave us 4 of the greatest seasons of television ever. Ryan Condal has not given us one great season of television yet. House of the Dragon season 1, I have a bias for. I still love House of the Dragon season 1, even though it has a ton of flaws. It's a good season. I give it an 8 out of 10. Not great. I'm not IGN who gives every episode of this show a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 because they're probably being paid or whatever. I just like, that's all I have to say on that. I'm so far behind in chat, guys. I apologize, but yeah. Why should I feel bad for Helena being imprisoned? She helped Daemon last season, which helped Rhaenyra instead of helping Aemond. What did she think would happen? Helena just doesn't make any sense as a character. And the craziest part right now is what they may do in the future with Helena is like triggered right now because she can't go outside. Okay, like, yeah, I mean, sure. Yeah. I think second Tumbleton is season 4, episode 2. I'm not sure yet, Zaz. Like, I've kind of gone back and forth. Like, I've predicted that the second Tumbleton will be combined with Tumbleton, or the first one. I'm not sure. We'll have to see. Like, given where some of the characters go, if they do combine the second Tumbleton, it will be very odd for the characters. Like, in terms of like the characters that we know have big roles in that have not been even barely established in the show, it'd be a little interesting. JM says, hoping Aegon's Conquest is good and well paced. Yes, JM, I agree 100%. I really am looking forward to Aegon's Conquest. I know a lot of people aren't, but I am. I love Aegon's Conquest. I love Fire and Blood in general. I hope that the Aegon the Conquest movie can open the door to get Maegor Naenys. That to me is the end goal. That is what I want so badly. Hopefully it's done well, but I mean that's what I want. So I am, as negative as I am on House of the Dragon, it's a very good time to be in a Song of Ice and Fire fan from the standpoint of we have a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms season 2. We have hopefully an Aegon's Conquest movie. We might have some novellas from George at some point. Again, when George starts saying stuff, I'll actually buy into it. But there has been rumors, and there's been statements that he's writing the 4th novella. But, there's things to look forward to past House of the Dragon if you're not enjoying it. So thank you for the super chat, JM. I appreciate it. Zaz says, do you think season 4 could have 10 episodes? I doubt it. I don't think they're going to go back to 10 episodes at this point, and I don't think it would matter anyway. The show just has such an inability at time management that 10 episodes doesn't even matter at this point, because even in an 8-episode season, we have so much filler that it's crazy to think about that. One of my favorite movies, I feel like I bring it up every other stream, is the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I love Fellowship specifically. One thing that when you watch the behind the scenes that you can tell when you watch the movie is every scene has a reason it's there. And it doesn't just have one reason, it has multiple reasons. Explain a character and their motivations or their background, or lore about this world, build out the world that we're in, progressing the plot, building the setting. Like, there's so many scenes in House of the Dragon in the last 4 episodes that can be completely cut and they do not matter a lick to the overall show. That is a problem when you're telling an 8-episode season. Kayla, I agree. Everything is just very underwhelming and nonsensical. I just do not understand the logic behind it. I don't either. FC, I agree. The show is terrible with scale. I 100% agree with you. The Targaryens on this show are horribly written with the exception of Aegon, the most interesting character. I mean, I would agree. I think of the Targaryens remaining right now, Aegon's the best written. I would say most of the characters I've enjoyed in the last like 8 to 10 episodes are mainly the characters that aren't Targaryens. Daemon has to be the only gold cloak, so he can't fly to Aemond right now, I guess. Just think about that statement for a second. Do you think the gold cloaks have been killed by the faceless men? All I have to say is if Ormond paid the faceless men to kill some gold cloaks, instead of just saying, hey, well, I'm already paying the faceless men, why don't I just kill like people that actually matter? This show, by the way, the title of this episode is about as like on the nose as you can get. Like, oh, the episode's bad. Let's title it The Faceless Men, which has absolutely no. Oh man, it's just bad thing after bad thing after bad thing. Fake Daron should have been sent to kill Aemond at this point. Yeah. Yeah, Ben. I think episode 3. I still don't love episode 3. The fake Daron thing destroys that episode, and to me, there is just so much filler in that episode too. And I think if we had 4 seasons of 10 episodes and the pacing and the writing was better, doing a point of view episode like that would have worked. But when you have a season that's only 8 episodes and everything's underdeveloped, that episode to me, I look back with a lot of distaste. Because that episode could have had more of Kristen Cole in it. We could have developed this plot line of him versus Oscar Tully and the Riverlords and the Winter Wolves, but no, instead we saw Rhaenyra for a whole episode in which most of that really went nowhere. So, I don't know. Yeah, Midnight. It's so crazy because if you go back to my season 1 videos, even some of my, no, not really season 2. If you go back to season 1, Alicent Hightower was like my second favorite / best written character of season 1, outside of like episode 8 and at the end of episode 8 and 9. And now she's the character I can't stand. I hate watching Alicent on the show. She's a terrible character. Yeah, Jay, just don't think about it. Exactly. Just don't think about House of the Dragon. Unfortunately, I know you're joking, by the way. Unfortunately, we are literally in a book series, in a world that is all about thinking. It's crazy to think that we've gone from Game of Thrones, even the show, which is a show that invites you to think about the characters and think about the story, think about why people are doing things. Think about this community of A Song of Ice and Fire, the different takes people have, the different interpretations of characters, of people. George invites you to think about his work critically. He invites you to think about everything that's happening. That's why this community has lasted as long as it has, because his work is so detailed in that way. House of the Dragon is literally the polar opposite. That's where the frustration is as a book reader. But just saw your stream. How did your dad react to the episode? Always interested in his opinion. Well, Kate, he wasn't a fan of this episode. He gave a 6 out of 10. He was not happy with the fast travel at the end of the episode with Corlys, which I thought was crazy because he almost never like calls that kind of stuff out. I would say he's more like a general casual watcher, but even he was like sitting here going, "What is happening right now?" And yeah, just again, this book had a lot of filler, and so that was kind of his opinion. Is Fire and Blood a good book? It depends who you ask. JM, to me, I love this funny book called Fire and Blood. I think it has its strong moments and its weak moments, which is also funny. I think Jaehaerys' reign in this book is some of George's worst writing in A Song of Ice and Fire. or like, the books in general. But then Becky and Ricky love that section of Fire and Blood. So I don't know. I love Fire and Blood. I think it has its ups and its downs, but to me, I love the book. I love reading it and going, oh, what is George actually trying to tell us? What is the actual answer to the puzzle that he has posed? What is the actual story? I love that type of a twist on a history book, but some people don't like that. And I personally think the reason this show does not get as much criticism as it deserves from book fans specifically is because people don't actually like Fire and Blood. I genuinely think that's the case. Like, think about the double standard that is in the community right now. Game of Thrones, the later seasons were getting brutally criticized because of the way that they strayed from the book material. That's not the same for House of the Dragon. So, I don't know. Aegon is the reason I'm still watching. I am right there with you. Well, okay. That's not the reason I'm still watching. Because personally, my camera's really aggravating me. It won't like stay up. But I'm watching it because I'm on a Song of Ice and Fire channel. And my audience has an expectation I'm going to cover the show. And I like talking about it with you guys. I like talking about it with Ricky, Becky, JC. But let's be fair. If I didn't have this community, would I be still watching the show? Probably not. I'll be totally honest with you guys. I probably would not be watching this show. So Matthias brings up the Alan and Bela scene. So let's talk about the Velaryon plot in general in the episode. So with Alan specifically, he's been acting as the hand of the king or queen in this scenario while Corlys is gone. Kind of a Tyrion to Tywin situation. And one thing I've really begun to question is, why is Alan so loyal to Rhaenyra? I just don't understand it. Like what has Rhaenyra done to earn that? And especially when she's actively gone against Adam and Alan in terms of being legitimized. And I just think that that's a little interesting. Like, I feel like they haven't explored that well enough yet, but I think that's a major question mark. And then, so Alan then goes to Corlys, asking him for, the troops or whatever. We see Corlys is hardcore hunting down the Triarchy, all that stuff. And then we see, as he goes back, Alan and Bela have a scene together. And obviously, this is being done because in the book, they also get together. But here's the problem. In the show, Alan and Bela have one scene together. One. I'm talking about them talking. They technically have two, if you want to throw in the scene where it's Corlys, Adam, Alan, and Bela. But Alan and Bela don't directly talk in that scene. So the two have one scene together all the way back in episode 2 and haven't talked since. And then all of a sudden, there's no sexual tension, or not, there's no sexual tension between them at all. And they're just like, let's just start making out. Adam and Bela last episode had more attraction to each other than, it just makes no sense at all. It's just thrown in there because it happened in the book. And could this moment have worked in the show? Totally. But you haven't developed it at all. You've just thrown it ass and gone, oh, they're getting together now, guys. That's it. I don't know. And then let's finish up the Velaryon stuff. So the Velaryon stuff ends then with Corlys in the last scene of the episode, where he's kind of messing around with the boys. It looks like he has 15 guys with him. Whatever. I guess most of the Velaryons are with Alan going to King's Landing. Whatever. And then Jon Roxton, who we just saw 15 minutes ago in screen time. You know what? Let's do a little study. Let's see when was. Let me find the episode real quick and tell you how long it took him in screen time that he got from Tumbleton all the way to tracking down Corlys in the random butt fuck of nowhere. All right, so so we spot John Roxton is, the last time he is seen is about 52 minutes into the episode, or somewhere around there. And then he is seen. Oh my God, so I was giving this the benefit of the doubt. He is seen 10 minutes later, all the way between Rook's Rest and King's Landing. Less than 10 minutes. This motherfucker tracked down Corlys and traveled, what, let's say a 2 days ride? In the middle of a war, by the way, war-torn country, we're assuming, and kidnaps Corlys. Whoever wrote this, please do not write something on this scale ever again. You need to like go cook back up in the lab some more. Like you need to start working on some minor projects. There is no way you can write something that bad and being paid thousands of dollars with one of the most popular television shows airing right now. Like I don't even know what to say. I don't like, the writing is that bad. So yeah, that's the Velaryon plot. So Aegon is headed to Essos now. That is what the show has introduced. We'll see how that goes. Yasmin asks, or Yasmina, how do you think those writers managed to write Viserys better than his book version? Were they just lucky? What do you think they did different in comparison to other characters?
And their regards.
JM, I will answer that in a second, because this is a very interesting question. I think, for one, there was more pressure on season 1. Season 1, Ryan Condal and the team were, for one, working much closer to George R.R. Martin. The show was not popular yet. And so I think that, for one, they just spent more time thinking about the character that they were crafting. And I also think that Viserys is such a bad character in the book. Like, he's just not likable at all. There's not anything to his character, really. That you had a very blank slate to just do whatever you wanted. And I think that, I don't think they got lucky, because the House of the Dragon team has shown at times to be able to craft good characters. So I think it's the idea that they were still listening to Ryan, or to George R.R. Martin. I think it's also the idea that there was so much pressure for season 1 to be good after coming after Game of Thrones season 8 that they spent more time. They weren't lazy, like how I feel most of the characters are being written now, where they're just plot convenient. I think that's the idea. Now, getting to JM's super chat. Off topic, but are you intrigued on Rings of Power season 3? So thank you for the super chat. Absolutely not. Rings of Power is worse than House of the Dragon on every level. Rings of Power season 1 is one of the worst seasons of television I've ever watched. It is terrible in terms of book lore or accuracy sake of an adaptation. It is terrible as a show in and of itself. It just, nothing is good. Like, Rings of Power to me is the literal definition of TikTok slop. Like, it is soulless. There's nothing to it. It's a terrible show. Yeah, I watched the trailer through somebody else, basically, that was reacting to it, that I respect their opinion. I don't care about Rings of Power. I think Rings of Power is garbage. So yeah, sorry about that. If you want to say this, House of the Dragon makes Rings of Power look, I mean, it makes House of the Dragon look just like a good show, which is crazy. But yeah. Here's the thing, Midnight. What's even crazier is episode 1 and 2 of this season, technically they had 4 years to write, because it was supposed to be at the end of season 2. So technically, they really only had to originally write 6 episodes in 2 years. Yeah. That's all I gotta say. Rohit, I'm a bit scared about Corlys's future, as I've really liked his character in this season. But, yeah. Dre, yeah, this is true. The general audience does not care at all about battles, and they just care about spectacle. Look at Game of Thrones. Same thing. The only time the general audience cares about like actual writing is when it affects their spectacle. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Um, Tom says if Bran saw this, no wonder he was so quiet and sad. True, true. Um, okay, so I've only seen one of these shows, but The Sopranos, Carl, is one, if not the greatest show of all time, is up there top like 3 or 4. Dakota says, shut up, the show is great. You just don't understand the source material. House of the Dragon Defenders. Yeah, I mean, I don't just personally, I don't think most people that really love House of the Dragon care about the source material at all. So I just think that's the difference. Um, I love seeing you all joining the dark side. Well, Kenshin, you saw me turn to the dark side last season. It's more the corruption is spreading to like Becky. Like Becky ranking the episode a 5.5 out of 10. I believe that's what she rated it. Was more of a plot twist or something I was not expecting than all of House of the Dragon has done this season. Like she said that, and I was like, holy cow. We've turned Becky, the most positive person I've seen. And now she's come down to our level. That sounds horrible, but House of the Dragon has broken Becky. She literally came into the live stream last night and said this episode made her feel empty. So, if anything, House of the Dragon, you should be ashamed just for that. But yeah. Blink, I totally agree with your assessment. The writing for some characters is just bad. They introduce characters they have no idea how to continue writing for. That to me is exactly Daron in a nutshell. Like they had no plan for the character and then they just threw him in and we just haven't done anything with him. Sorry, Constantine James, I just saw your chat. I'm like super far behind in chat right now. I probably, but check out his channel. He does some great videos. Yeah, the episode was not great. I watched a good amount of your review last night. So yeah, but I agree with a lot of what you've said on the episode. Or I should just say the season in general. Yeah, Ryan. So like this is how I also felt about Ormond at first. So when we started to see the character early on, really I would say before the last shot or the last scene of episode 4, I kind of liked where they were going with Ormond because it felt like he was this guy that it felt like was very nuanced. That he was kind of going to be somebody that would be very interested and layered. And then they just kind of threw that away to make him like a snorting villain that is just I don't really care about overall. So this is another thing that I think I agree with Crimson is I honestly think instead of the Rhaenyra point of view episode, we should have gotten a Criston Cole point of view episode. Given how much of a focus he was in episode 5, I think they should have done the entire Butcher's Ball arc because they didn't really build up to it at all. Outside of like episode 4, they should have just had episode 5 be a Criston Cole episode. Have it be where maybe not a full Criston Cole point of view, but maybe it's like Criston Cole's point of view and Oscar Tully's point of view. And you just see them as they're counterattacking each other, or you're seeing that the game that's being played between both sides, and then at the end of it, Criston Cole dies. I think that would have worked better than what they ended up doing, where Criston Cole dies in like the first 5 minutes of the episode. I don't know. I haven't really fully developed my thoughts on what I think they should have done with the Criston Cole stuff. I just know it doesn't feel correct. I don't know. I just something's just not right there. Friend, I believe. Well, honestly, I don't know. I don't know if Hugh killed like I'm assuming it was like a farmer guy or whatnot that was going into Tumbleton. I don't know if he actually killed him or not, but we'll probably never find out. So you know what? If you think he killed an innocent man, Fair enough. That gives a little bit of nuance to his character, I guess. I can't even go out for a drink with the boys. Welcome to married life. Hey, my boy Ulf is a single man. He's just trying to have fun with the boys. He's trying to, do his thing, okay? Man. Ulf is literally my favorite character in the show right now. Every time he's on screen, I'm just like, man, I might not like the show, but he'll get a laugh out of me. And that's more than most shows. You know what? I'll say this. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms had such a heavy emphasis on comedy. And I'll be honest, Ulf has made me laugh more times than A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms has. So maybe I just like the Ulf humor more than I liked some of the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms humor. So I don't know. It's crazy because like I can tell how far behind chat I am. Like you guys are talking about Hugh's wife, something I yapped about like 30 minutes ago, and I'm just now reading it. This is the problem of trying to like interact with chat to this type of level when you guys have so much to say. It's like I don't want to just like brush off your guys' comments just to like stay with chat, but it's like you run into this but I try, guys. I try. Shouldn't she be happy you didn't get eaten by a dragon? I'm assuming you're referencing Hugh's wife. You would assume so, but Hugh's wife just like she didn't give a two craps. She was like, dude, all this stuff happened to me. Where were you? Meanwhile, this guy is out here literally trying to get her out of this situation so that she would never have to go hungry ever again or ever be placed in the situation where she's assaulted or whatnot. Oh man, I don't even know. I don't know. You know what? This is a great point, Zaz. I don't know how much Hugh's wife knew about him because we see Hugh's wife in episode 2 when Rhaenyra takes King's Landing. There's a shot of us seeing her. There's like a couple cameos. Like we also see the brothel worker that was with Aemon in season 2. Did she know Hugh had Vermithor? I don't know if she would have known that. Like, I don't know how much Hugh's name would have been thrown around as a dragon rider, so I'm not sure if that's actually the case. Why hasn't Daemon ever spoken with Helaena about the dreams he had? Because you're thinking about it too much, and the show obviously has no explanation. They haven't even bothered to. Again, I don't like the stuff from season 2 about the whole vision prophecy nonsense and how Helaena is able to talk to Daemon through dreams or whatever. But if you're going to go that route, actually do something with it, right? Don't just introduce it and then go, oh, like that never happened. Do something with it. There were all these theories going into the season of how they were going to try and explain it. They did, and it's just like, I feel like sometimes, this isn't all the time, but the fans are more creative than the actual people writing the stories. Like, you go back to Game of Thrones season 8, all these people have all these different ways they could have ended the season differently and made sense, even with how bad season 7 was. And even here, like, I don't know. It just feels like something that was supposed to make Daemon bend the knee to Rhaenyra because they didn't trust the development they had done with his character throughout the entire season. And then they just didn't do anything with it. So I don't know. It just, yeah. Grease said the fuck word. Grease did say some bad words. I apologize. That's my bad. Sometimes my emotion, it just breaks through. Ryan would have done the right thing and made Robb less sympathetic. Who knows at this point? If Condal had his hands on Game of Thrones, Cat would be trying to kill her sons. Well, Catelyn did a pretty good job of that, to be fair. I mean, she makes a lot of bad decisions that lead to Robb's death. She didn't go to Winterfell, that she could have. I think when you really think about Catelyn's decisions, I love Catelyn, by the way. She's my favorite point of view.
The Lannisters send their regards.
She did set up her children to die. Just saying. She did. I don't know. Thank you for the super chat. Let me go over to YouTube. Ban Loa says, best House of the Dragon character isn't even the main one. I totally agree. The best character in House of the Dragon has not been the main character since like season 1. To me, the best character of this episode was Gwaine. You could throw I would just say the best character is Gwaine. The best character of last episode was like Aegon / Kristen Cole. I then would have said the best characters in the first 4 episodes were Alan and Corlys. Season 2, the best character was Aegon, for the most part. So yeah, I would agree with that. Thank you for the super chat. I do appreciate it, as always. JM, I really don't hope. I really hope they don't do a trilogy of movies for Aegon's Conquest. I don't think it needs it. I think that you can tell the story of Aegon's Conquest in one movie and just have that movie be a test for, okay, can we do more of the Fire and Blood material that follows Aegon's Conquest? Could we do something where maybe we tell a show where the first season is maybe about Aenys' reign, then the second season is about Maegor and the war with the Faith, the war with Aegon the Uncrowned? Could we do a lot of that stuff? That's what I hope. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm in the minority, though. I know a lot of people in this space don't really want an Aegon's Conquest movie or even a show about it. I'm kind of different. I personally would love to see it, but that's my Fire and Blood bias, I guess. Rhaena and Sheepstealer spinoff should be eventful. Can't wait to see what they're going to do with that in this season, but we'll just have to wait. The John Roxon time travel scene was nonsensical. How did he get from Tumbleton to the Crownlands in a single episode? Not in a single episode, Matthias. He gets there in 10 minutes of screen time. 10 minutes. I literally did the calculation. He goes there in 10 minutes. This is Varys in Dorne and then on Daenerys' ship level bad. Like that is just, I don't even know. I don't know. Yeah, Zaz, the thing with Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and I'm going to talk about it more when we're done with the House of the Dragon season, is I just don't know how I feel about the idea that we're going to do the first few seasons and then skip, or we're not going to have seasons back to back. I just don't know if HBO would ever allow them to do that. And I think from a general audience point of view, that doesn't make sense. Let's just take a 10-year break. You're going to kill all the momentum that the show had. I just don't see a way that is plausible to do from a business side of things. But I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. I mean, I think it's an interesting concept. I'd love to be able to tell Egg's story as he grows up and as the actor grows up. I think that'd be really cool. I just don't know if that's ever going to be allowed to really happen. Hi, SS, how are you? I can't wait for episode 7. If you know, you know. Well, here's the thing, right? We're going to get to the big episodes, the big payoff episodes. I'll be interested to see how they do certain things. I have a lot of question marks because I think there's a lot of things that are underdeveloped right now that I just don't know how they're going to pull them off. And so we'll have to see at this point. I will say this. Watching Jane Eyre slap Rhaena, I know you're not supposed to like that scene. I can't lie. I enjoyed it. I hate Rhaena's storyline so much that honestly, Rhaena being the idiot that she is in the show and just the nonsense that is her storyline, I'm cool with Jane just right into Essos. Just boom. I'm totally cool with it. I like Jane Eyre in the show. She's like a no nonsense. She's like what I kind of wish Rhaenyra was sometimes. And I'm totally cool with it. So, yeah. I don't know. I have no idea what happened to fake Daeron. But yeah, I don't know. I'm glad we finally saw the throne reject Rhaenyra. Yeah, there were some things I liked about Rhaenyra in this episode. There were things I didn't like about Rhaenyra in this episode. I like that Rhaenyra had more of a spine. she didn't put up for as much of as the bull crap as she usually does. Like, she threw it back in people's faces a bit more, like Alicent, the Baratheon messenger. I liked that aspect of Rhaenyra, that like we saw her actually, I don't know, just have a spine in general. What I didn't like about Rhaenyra is just that she made so many decisions in this episode that it's like, I cannot see a world in which she is this stupid. Like, yes, Rhaenyra can be a bad ruler, but also not be incredibly stupid. Like, and they've done this thing, this balancing act with her, where they've put her in very tough situations. Like, okay, how do you deal with the public? You know, they're not being fed. The crown is, bankrupt. How do you deal with that situation? And then that can lead you to making bad
The
decisions.
Lannisters and their regards.
But overall, then they've put in things that just like she's making stupid decisions to just make stupid decisions to just forward the plot. That's where my problems are with her character overall. Do you think Reyna will fight in more battles? Thank you for the super chat, Banloa. I don't know. I really don't know if they're gonna force her into more of the battles. But I wouldn't be shocked because as of right now, she's largely not really been a part of the story. Like, it's weird because Ryan Condal made a statement that said, I thought it'd be more interesting to give Reyna Nettles' arc, but Reyna largely hasn't done anything this season. She comes in the Battle of the Gullet, she does her thing, and then she's not present in the story. So I don't know with Reyna at this point. I think the main part of her character is just going to be that she's going to be part of the reason there is probably a rift between Daemon and Rhaenyra. That's what I think her use is going to be in the story right now. But thank you for the super chat. I do appreciate it. Again. Here's my things as. So like, because I get a lot of criticism as well because of how I view the show. And my thing is, I'm never going to come on here and not tell you what I actually think. Even if it's the unpopular opinion, I just don't care. I'm going to say what I genuinely feel. I don't care if that loses me viewers, if that loses me subscribers. I don't care. That's already happened. I've lost people that were in this community that really like the show, and they did not like what I said about the show. And that's totally fine. I don't care. But I think that everybody should be open to having their critiques of the show or not, right? You shouldn't be hated because of that. And I think we're in this really polarizing community where if you criticize the show, you're viewed as just a straight hater that doesn't care about the show, that is doing it because, oh, it's going to get you views or whatever. Or, the opposite applies as well. If you say positive things that you're being paid by HBO, there's just no nuance. Like, there's no like, oh, why am I critical of the show? Well, for one, I have a much bigger bias to Fire and Blood than most people do because I love Fire and Blood. And I am somebody that really wants a well-told story with our characters. The characters should drive your story forward. It shouldn't be that we're so reliant on plot twists and battles and dragons. The reason I feel like so many people feel like, oh, well, where are the battles? Where are the dragons? Is because there's no substitute to that. Game of Thrones, we never had this stuff. We'd have to wait 10 episodes to see a battle. But nobody cared about that because the writing was so great. How we got to those moments were amazing. Game of Thrones season 1 is beloved in this community, and it has virtually no action in it at all. So it's more the point that we've gotten to it where people don't care about the dialogue. They don't care about the characters. They don't care about this stuff. They care about the dragons. They care about the spectacle because that's all House of the Dragon has left at this point. So, I don't know. That's just my overall thoughts. It pains me to say this stuff as someone that used to love this show, that would, go in depth and talk about elements of what they're doing with the writing and these characters. But that's just not the show anymore. So, Zaz, the best part of Fire and Blood is not Jaehaerys' reign. Anyone that says that is a heretic. Just after I'd Yeah. I respect your guys' opinions, but Jaehaerys' reign is the worst part of the book. That's my opinion, though. Yeah, Zaz, I think people are way more forgiving of House of the Dragon than Game of Thrones. Obviously. I mean, if Game of Thrones and did do this stuff, when it was doing this stuff, most of the community would call it out. House of the Dragon, and I'm talking about the hardcore community, like the A Song of Ice and Fire community, not the general public. House of the Dragon, that's not been the case. House of the Dragon, it's very varied. You know, you have a few creators that are like much more critical on the show, like myself, Constantine James, who was in chat earlier, Critical Maester, I believe. And then you have people that are more like neutral, like they'll have good things, they'll have, you know, and then you have other people that are much more positive. So it's like, I don't know. It's just it's a weird place that I feel like we're in right now with how polarized the community, I think, is. Absolute Real Cinema says Jaehaerys' reign is pure soap opera because it's just so peaceful. Yeah, I mean, his reign is much more about the building of the kingdoms and a lot of his dynamics with his children and his wife. And I don't know, to me, sometimes that just, it's a bit of a slog to get through. The best parts to me of Jaehaerys' reign are the beginning and the end, because the beginning is you're trying to heal the country after the damage that Maegor and Aenys have done to it. And you're in a really interesting situation in Targaryen history. You have one of my favorite characters, Rhaena Targaryen, the Queen of the West, who was mentioned in this episode, which was a positive of the episode. I did one of these when her name was mentioned. I literally was like, Rhea, you're now in Game of Thrones universe. You've been mentioned. My mom thought the actual character was in the show, and I was like, no. It's a good thing she's not in this show. But yeah, so I'll say that. But yeah, and then the ending, obviously, of Jaehaerys' reign is setting up the dance. So those are the parts I like of his reign. I think the middle, it just, to me, it just slogs on a little bit too long to me. The Czaz, I still don't get the feeling of we're struggling to like Rhaenyra. Because I feel like it's more that everybody just unanimously hates Alicent. So, like, you don't, like, yes, we are seeing Rhaenyra have more of a spine, but you also need to remember, you're saying, oh, we're starting to see the seeds of Rhaenyra the Cruel. We have 10 episodes left of this show. We basically have a season of this show left. I don't know. Yeah, Alexander, I just didn't really like the whole Baela and Alan scene. It just didn't really land to me. And I also think it's funny because, you know, I think Jason Baela did have a lot of chemistry, at least the actors did anyway. But they never really explored their romantic relationship outside of just Baela was a very, very good partner. Like, she was very understanding, and even though Jace was always crying and all this stuff, not actually crying, but you get what I mean. Yeah, I don't know. Efrent, yeah, and so this is my reason I'm so passionate about talking about House of the Dragon, even though I don't love the show anymore. I do not want this to become a standard. That bad writing is normalized, that fast travel is normalized, bad character writing is normalized. I want to use my platform, use my voice to push back on this stuff. You know, I don't want a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms to turn into this. Thank you for the super chat. I will get to that in a second. But I don't want this show to turn into, or Knight of the Seven Kingdoms to turn into what Game of Thrones has turned into, what House of the Dragon has turned into. I don't want future projects to be this lazy. So, to me, that is the whole point of this. It's just that we don't want this to become standard practice. And as of right now, we're 2 for 2, and this is how the shows go. Sloppy writing, not being faithful to the book, and in any regard. Yeah. Let me answer that super chat real quick. Buffy says, what timeline would you want in a Song of Ice and Fire AAA game? That's a very interesting one, because the obvious answer is A Song of Ice and Fire. I think a game set in the War of the Five Kings right after season 1 or book 1 would be awesome. And maybe you could just pick a different character if you wanted to be. Like you could start with you're a Stannis supporter, or you're in Robb Stark's army, or whatever. There's so much you could do with that. I think also during the dance would be super cool. During the first Blackfire Rebellion would be super cool. Robert's Rebellion would be super cool. Aegon's Conquest, Maegor and Aenei, like there's so many, but I would say you kind of have to go with the War of the Five Kings would be, I think, the obvious answer for me personally. Thank you for the super chat though, Buffy. The writers for this episode are the guy who wrote season 2, episode 3 and 7, and episode 4. That tells me all I need to know, because those are some of the worst episodes of the show. So that does not that doesn't surprise me. This episode should have been called The Butcher's Ball. Yeah, I totally agree. I don't understand why you don't title it that, or just at least make the title something that actually makes sense, that has any relevance to all the storylines that are going on. Zaz, everybody that's excited for Rings of Power Season 3, I hope the show is good for you. All I can say. Grease, you are killing me. I'm literally laughing so hard on your Rings of Power take. It's true, though. You can go back. I covered Rings of Power Season 1 on this channel. I did live streams for it on this channel. If you want to go back and see my thoughts, Rings of Power was like the prelude to Grease the Cruel. If you want to see where did the origins of my crash out of Season 2, Episode 8 came from, it's Rings of Power. That show took hours of my life away from me, and I will never get them back. I'm going to be honest, Rohit. Rings of Power is so far gone, I don't care. It's so far gone. We've had 2 seasons of some of the worst television ever. I don't care what they do in season 3. It's too late. It's just too late. It'd be like if House of the Dragon was like, oh, after season 3, we're getting new writers. Who cares? The show's already gone. It doesn't matter at this point. Hitting things with sticks just got in, so we hate House of the Dragon here. I myself do not like House of the Dragon in its current state. I've liked House of the Dragon more than I've hated it. I liked House of the Dragon basically all the way up till episode 7 or 8 of season 2, and since then I've been very, very critical of the show. All I can say about Helena is we're seeing them White Walkers. That's all I gotta say. It's happening. Hitting things with sticks. Here's my thing. You should not need someone to tell you how you feel about the episode. If you watched the episode and you went, oh, I really like that episode, or I really didn't like that episode, that's totally cool. That was how you viewed it. You shouldn't need somebody else to tell you what to think about the show. If you come into my live stream and you go, oh, wait, you know what? He's got some good points. Maybe I am thinking about this episode a little bit differently. That's really cool. But you shouldn't need someone to tell you what to think about the episode. Not to say that Alt Shift X doesn't make good videos or whatever, but I'm just saying you shouldn't the way you view an episode should not be how I tell you or how I say the episode is. Becky the Brutal is born. That's a good one. I'm gonna have to tell Becky about that. To tell her when you crash out, be Becky the Brutal now. See, Derry, I'm sad that Kristen Cole is gone because I actually liked his character in season 3 and season 2, or at least the later stages of season 2. I found him more interesting than most of the characters. He just got no screen time. But you know, yeah, well, we just, yeah, I don't know. Darth Becky. JC did do a lot of Star Wars references, which I wasn't expecting last night, so maybe. Becky's soul is pure, and I will not forgive Ricky for corrupting her. Well, I would say that I started the corruption. Well, yeah, I would say that me and Ricky, as a joint collaborative effort, started the corruption, right? Because JC was the same way. JC came in, and he was this guy that was like pure of heart, and he was like, hell yeah, let's be nice to House of the Dragon, and not, okay, I phrased that wrong, but like, you know, he was a lot more like, you know, positive. And then he came into 2 live streams with me and Ricky, and by the end of it, he was never the same. And that's how we get him crashing out about Maekar in episode 6. So it all started with the origin stories of Grease the Cruel, and I don't know what Ricky's evil thing would be, but let's just say, well, he is voice of Old Town, and Old Town, they're pretty evil already, so I guess that's good enough. Also, we got a reference to Voice of Old Town in the show. It's just a wink to Ricky having friends everywhere. He's like the Sons of the Harpy, but YouTube style. I do like the actor who plays Ormond. Again, I like most of the actors in the show. None of the things I ever say on these has anything to do with Ormond. Yeah, Dakota, all I gotta say on the recasting of Dario, not a fan. Not a fan, but yeah, Ashley will forever be iconic for saying Dario no buns. Bro, just jump ahead. How about don't tell me what to do? How about that? How about you are in the chat? You just gotta chill out a little bit. Calm down. How about that? You ever think about that? At least I answer your dang chats. Y'all are ungrateful. All I gotta say. Half your favorite creators, they don't answer your chats in general. So you know what? Sorry, had to have a little Grease the Cruel crash out there. Raymond, I don't think any creators are being paid off by HBO. HBO is not paying off creators. I can tell you that right now. So that's all I'll say on that topic. Well, I just lost where I was. Oof, it's so frustrating how far behind he is. Oh, hitting things with sticks. I'm so sorry. Will you please forgive me for being behind in chat and answering people's chats when there's, 100 people in here and you're all chatting? Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. My bad. Cosmic Ghost Wolf, thank you for the kind words. I do appreciate that, and I try my best. I like that little moment with Vermithor and Silverwing. I agree. I thought that was a good moment as well. I liked the, foreshadowing between, these used to be, well, dragons that were with people that are married or together with Jaehaerys and Alysanne. That was a cool little, I like that as well. That was nice. Find someone who loves you as much as Alicent hates her children and Cat hates Jon Snow. You're right. The good stuff about this episode was the scene with Aegon and anything involving Gwaine. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but were they implying he was gay through Ormond? Are you talking about Gwaine? Gwaine, yes, is gay. Based on what I believe, what I've seen from the show. But I don't know if you're speaking about Ormond. I'm not sure. Ormond is still to be determined in terms of if he's gay. Because it is interesting because you're implying he doesn't have any heirs, which would be quite odd, or that he's not married either. So I don't know. We'll see. I think Aegon's conquest needs to be 3 hours. If it's only one movie, I want to see the Dornish Conquest. I think that's fair. Starting to wonder if George himself has mommy issues after all the problematic mother characters. Maybe, maybe. All I can say is it's better than the sexual assault every episode. That's all I can say. It is easier to make a list of the least liked characters. That is true. Will you blame Alicent for what men have done? What do you mean by that, epic work? Like, what do you mean by that? Like, Alicent is literally the person who basically kickstarted the war. Yeah, Otto, like, was also a part of that, but Alicent also basically started the war. Like, I don't know. If they did or took a 10-year break, that would kill the hype. I totally agree. Oh, that's the line you were referring to, Epic. Yeah, so another terrible line from Alicent that Zaz pointed out. Thank you for the clarification on that. Can we set Jane to Harrenhal to slap Alicent? Honestly, can we just get Jane just everybody? But yeah. Buffy says, could House of the Dragon change affect characters in future Game of Thrones shows? It could, but I'll be honest, I don't know how much like House of the Dragon will be treated as canon for other shows. I don't really know what they're gonna do with that. Like, obviously House of the Dragon has like, to me, it has no attachment or connection to the books at all at this point. So yeah, I don't know. LOL, Grease the Forgiving was born tonight? No. I'm not forgiving of nothing. Let me go back up to where I was. I like Rhaenyra shrugging off the common people. Yeah, that's very fitting with her character, I feel like. KP says, feels like the show wants us to forget about Helena astral projecting into Daemon's Weirwood dream thing. Yes, it totally does. 100%. In my experience, every time I felt the show going downhill a few seasons in, by the series finale, a lot of people agreed The Boys, Stranger Things, Westworld being recent examples. Like, there's always signs that a show is declining. It doesn't come out of nowhere. Like Game of Thrones season 8 didn't come out of nowhere. There are always these signs. And House of the Dragon just progresses each and every season. Season 1 I thought was good with flaws. Season 2 I thought was mid. Like, it had good parts, it had bad parts. And then season 3 I think is just trash. So what will the finale be? If we continue on this decline, it'll be similar to Game of Thrones season 8. Danny, I can't, speak on other creators and their thoughts on the shows. I don't know. And I'm just gonna keep it there. I don't want to start drama with other channels. I don't want to speak on other people's situations when I don't know. But I do feel the frustration that a lot of you feel in my chat and my comments, where it feels like nobody is willing to critique the show. Even if they love the show, like, or you really like the show, it feels like there's no real criticism of it, which I find to be incredibly frustrating, because when you do that stuff, you just enable the show to continue doing this bad quality or bad decision making for the future, because there's no pushback on it. There's no, oh, that was stupid. Why did you do that? Like, why would you create all of these plot holes, all this stuff that doesn't really make any sense? Hi, Devorlin. How are you? Hopefully, you are having a fantastic day, and thank you for telling people to like and subscribe. I appreciate that. Can this last two episodes save the season for you? No. So, cause I made a video last week. I talked about how even though episode 5 was a stronger episode, I said I highly doubt this season is going to change off of one episode that even had issues. It was a good episode, but it wasn't great. It was good. I don't know, like you have to think about this from my perspective. I now have a track record for me of within the last 8 to 10 episodes, the show has had consistently bad quality of writing. So all of a sudden, they're not going to just figure it out. And based on the way that they have set up the show to finish, everything's underdeveloped. Nothing makes any sense. The only plotline I really care about right now that Kristen Coles is dead, is Aegon's. That's it. All the other plot lines are completely dysfunctional that make no sense. And even Aegon's has issues with it. Still have massive question marks about the Sunfire stuff. Tyland just appears. There's no explanation to it, just appears. So we're just in this state of the show where it's like, I can't even comprehend the show finishing strong because it hasn't had a single episode this season that I've gone, wow, that was a great episode. Like, my highest rated episode of the season is a 7 out of 10. When you average all of my ratings, which I will do for the finale, the show is averaging like a 5.5 out of 10 for every episode. So I don't think it can. Long story short. KP says, will you do a season 1 episode by episode retrospective to see where it all started going wrong? No, I don't think I will. And I'll be honest, guys. I'm pretty ready for House of the Dragon season to be over. I'm ready to get back to the normal videos, to the normal content. And like, I like talking about the show with you guys and all of that, but you know, I'm getting to the point where it's like, it's the same mistakes. It's the same nonsense over and over and over again. I'm really excited to get into a Night of the Seven Kingdoms, build up into that season. I'm excited to get into some stuff that I've been planning in the back of my mind for content, when the season finishes. A video I've thought about doing is, when did House of the Dragon, when did it all go wrong? Like, what episode was it? And I've thought about that, right? That's a question that's so difficult for me to answer because there's so many moments that you can point to in House of the Dragon where this is the red flag. This is like, oh, we're going to get to this point. So I've thought about it, but I don't think I'm going to do like an episode by episode type of thing for House of the Dragon. I'm going to test the waters with season 2 of Game of Thrones, where I want to do something where I like look at each episode and talk about what made them so great, or maybe some of the issues, looking at the adaptation side of things. What did they start to do in Game of Thrones season 2 differently than the book? I want to do something like that, but for Game of Thrones, to kind of continue my series I did with the first season of Game of Thrones. Daryl, I totally agree. And this is not to me to say that like people that get the episodes early are being paid or anything. But when people do get episodes early, they do inherently have a bias. Because you also have to be thinking, if you say certain things about the episode, if you're very critical and negative about them, you're going to stop getting the screeners. So if you're a creator, like I personally also try to get screeners. I tried to get the episodes early because that would have helped me a ton. I wouldn't have had to record a video right after a live stream, edit it, and then try to get it up before 2 a.m. every Sunday. I could have all my content prepared and edited. I wouldn't have to be scrambling and working my ass off to get you guys content out. But I didn't get that because obviously I don't hold back on the show. I'm very blunt. I put it in my titles and my thumbnails. I don't hide my opinions on the show. Whereas you can kind of get away with doing it a different way. Like Ricky, for instance, very critical of the show. He very much, kind of hides it because his live stream titles and thumbnails are usually very neutral. And then you watch the live stream and you go, oh, well, that's his actual thoughts. Obviously, HBO doesn't watch your videos or live streams. But if they click on your channel and they see, oh, House of the Dragon season 2 wasn't very good, and a bunch of videos that's like, oh, criticizing their show, they're not going to like that. Okay, Zaz, you bring up an interesting question. How much do you have to super chat to get you to stream Rings of Power season 3? It'd have to be a lot because I don't really want to do Rings of Power. I'm thinking about doing Harry Potter when it drops later in the year. But even if I do that, I do want to just make sure you guys know this. It will not be like House of the Dragon. Like House of the Dragon consumes my channel. I do not upload anything else besides House of the Dragon season during its span on air. If I did cover Harry Potter, it would be a lot more just like, oh, I do maybe one stream and then like maybe a review of the episode type of video, and then I would still have out the normal Game of Thrones or A Song of Ice and Fire or whatever. So I may do Ring or Harry Potter. I'm not doing Rings of Power. I just cannot care unless Rings of Power comes out and people are saying it's great. Then maybe, but I don't think so. Zaz, I have no idea how they rescued Allison and Elena. The show doesn't bother to tell us, so I'm not going to write their story for them, so I have no idea. I like the gold cloak scene. It shows that loyalty can only take you so far and must be mindful of your subjects. Seeing Daemon make any sort of comeback, but ultimately failing, was really impactful. Matthias, I agree to you to an extent. My issue is really they paint the gold cloaks as being 30 guys, is kind of my issue. And I just don't think that's realistic. I don't think it's realistic that like, oh, all of the gold cloaks just like, we're on strike now or we're leaving. And it's just like, I can see a faction of them leaving like they do, but everyone deserting just is like, oh okay. I just don't, I don't really agree. Where was I? Ricky the Ruthless. That's another good one. You guys gotta find one for JC. What is JC's cruel thing or whatever? Couple of points. I meant Ryan Condal corrupted Becky. I gotcha. JC was never pure of heart, and Ricky's evil side is no, Dakota. If I had a dragon and someone slapped me, their castle is mine now. True, Kenshin. I agree. True. Oh no, he's losing it on the throne like Rhaenyra. Hey, sometimes I crash out a little bit, okay? That's all I have to say. Sometimes I crash out. And sometimes, okay, here's the other thing, right? So that person, I'm pretty sure left after I said that to them because they were being like, "Oh my god, he's so far behind in chat." You cry. Sometimes I've got to bring you guys back down to earth a little bit. Sometimes you guys think this is a democracy. This is a dictatorship. Okay, I am the one in power. Okay, and you guys, you have your power. You do. But when you start saying stuff out of line like that, I mean, I'm not Rhaenyra, okay, in the show. I'm just gonna just call you out, okay? So, yeah. And by the way, people that have been on this channel for a lot, you'll understand the reference of me saying this is not a democracy. That's been a thing on this channel since season 2. So, you guys, you have your input, and you have your power to some extent. But this is a dictatorship. Let's not get that confused. Yeah, Breton says at least we still have a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms season 2 to look forward to. I'm excited for that. Yolvana? I don't think I said that right. I'm really bad at pronunciation. I'm sorry. I kind of lost interest in the show. It's so bad. I do not blame you whatsoever. It's 2 episodes left, and they haven't shown Aegon the Third and Viserys. Yeah, because they don't matter. They don't care. It's not related to Rhaenyra or Alicent. It's the same reason Joffrey has gotten no screen time at all. He's just, oh, he's always sleeping. Thanks for that, Ryan Condal. I really liked seeing that. Breton, the ending of this show, I already know where it's going. I'm not going to say anything, but I know where it's going, and yeah. The very start was episode 9 of season 1. Yes, James, that's also where I think it started. Unfortunately, I think that the whole blueprint and problem of where season 2's issues came from started that moment. You could also say the ending of episode 8 with like Viserys saying the whole Aegon's dream thing and that influenced Alicent and all that stuff. You can make the argument it's the end of episode 8, but I would say yes, the start of the downfall of House of the Dragon started in season 1, which is crazy to think about. I agree, Danny, on really where this show started to fall off was they made Alicent one of the best characters of the show in season 1, and at the very end they completely fumbled it. And they didn't want to go the full route of making her like this villainous character. They tried to give her a cop out, and it fundamentally broke her character. Carl, thank you for the kind words on me and Becky's thumbnails and such. Was the dragon egg scene made up for the show or from the book? So it's definitely made up for the show, but it's not like, oh, it's like this huge thing that doesn't make any sense with the book. It makes sense with the book. It's just something that it could have happened, but it's not in the book necessarily. It's even alluded to that, like, so this is kind of a spoiler, but I'm going to say this is a spoiler for the show, I guess. But in the book, Alice Rivers survives the dance, and there's actually rumors that she had a dragon and also the possibility of Aemon's son, and was trying to basically start her own little kingdom. Now, we don't know what actually happened to Alice. We haven't gotten Fire and Blood Part 2, but it's definitely possible that there were dragon eggs there left from Rhaena's dragon, Dreamfire. KP, it definitely could be possible. Given that both Larys and Alice seem to have maybe some magical stuff to them, there was a lot of theories that Larys was warging into the rats. I definitely think it's possible. I think that obviously they are blood tied, but I think they could share the same like kind of powers, but to different scaling ideas. Like for instance, Bran, we're told, is the most powerful Stark in terms of his magical abilities. And like we do know, for instance, that Arya has those as well, but they're to a much lesser extent. Could be something similar with like those two characters. Of course, it scrolled all the way down to the bottom. Streamlabs, I really hate you sometimes. I will say this: if you guys did like the live stream last night, I'm pretty sure Becky's going to be back for episode 7. I think she also said she'll be here for episode 8 as well. So I know we haven't had a lot of streams where a lot of us have been together. I know episode 4 and 5 was just me and Ricky. JC, not sure on episode 7, but I'm pretty sure he'll be here for episode 8. So at the very least, you'll, I think, have one more stream of all 4 of us together. So that should be fun. I did really enjoy last night's stream, obviously, with all of them. It's a bit more like chaotic, because you're trying to manage a bunch of different people speaking and all being able to talk, which is why I like these streams a lot, because it allows me to really think out my thoughts and talk with you guys, which is something I just can't really do in those live streams. But yeah, I hope you guys are excited for more of those. Will you ever do a spoiler stream where you can talk predictions on whether the show is going or where the show is going for the final season? So KP, I probably will after season 3. I don't know. I'm just like in this place where it's like I don't even feel like it even matters to make predictions, because it's like, what are my predictions going to be? Okay, well, there's things that happen in Fire and Blood, but obviously they're going to do them way differently. And I don't trust any of the writers to do anything that makes any type of sense at all. So I will talk about the future of the show after season 3, but I don't know. We're gonna have to see on that stuff. JC the Defiance, that's too like okay, that could be a good thing, right? Like, you being defiant can have good and bad strings attached to it. It's just got to be something where he's a crash out artist, you know? On Grease's chair, it's probably made of cat claws, and if he gets scratched, the chair rejected him. Well, Zaz, I'll say this. Rhea has torn this chair apart. I mean, you can see it, like, right here. These are all her little, like, nails digging into the chair because she jumps up here or climbs up onto my chair. But, like, the backside of this chair is just, like, it's just scratched to all hell. But that's, she's a little menace. That's what she does. So, Ryan said the kids will come back into the story eventually. Ryan's the same man that also says that Reyna is more interesting than Nettles. So I don't trust a single thing he says. Dakota, thank you for stopping in. Appreciate you as always. We are going to have to end this stream soon. It's been 2 hours. I'm hungry. My throat's starting to hurt from all the talking I've done today with recording all the videos in the stream. So I'm going to just try to fly through this a little bit. Do you agree with Preston's take that Fire and Blood was kind of bound for a bad adaptation? No, I don't agree with that at all. Because here's the thing. If you're looking at it from the point of view of a 1-to-1 adaptation, House of the Dragon was never that. House of the Dragon I thoroughly enjoyed in season 1 and parts of season 2, and it was never that faithful of an adaptation to the book. But that doesn't really matter as much as it is a good adaptation that has the idea of what the story is about, and it doesn't actively disrespect the source material. The reason that it's become more of someone like me constantly being pissed off about the way that they've adapted Fire and Blood is because they hate the source material, and they actively make decisions that hurt the show, and they completely remove things from the book that are way better than what they're doing in the show. I don't agree with the idea that the dance could never have been adapted well, because we have proof that even in season 1, they could do that stuff. But then they stopped caring. I don't agree with that, personally. I think if you're coming at it from the perspective of could it ever have been a 1-to-1 adaptation where no liberties were ever taken, sure. But could have House of the Dragon have been a good show and a faithful adaptation in the lens that I use that term by? Yes. Zaz, thank you for stopping in. I don't know if you're saying goodnight to me because I'm about to end the stream or you have to leave, but appreciate you for being on here as always. I personally, by the way, Zaz, with your comment above, I would love to get Fire and Blood Part 2. I want Fire and Blood Part 2 way more than I want any of the novellas. So I just throw that out.
The Lannisters and their regards.
Rock or I'm going to go with Rock. I don't know how to the pronunciation of that. Yeah. But thank you for your super chat. It's criminal we haven't had one proper scene with Dreamfire and Helena, given how much she's been mentioned and how much impact they'll both have on future events in King's Landing. Here's the thing. House of the Dragon does not care because that is set up. That's thinking about the show in the long-term picture. And this show doesn't think that way. This show thinks in the short term. It thinks of, oh, what can we do right now that creates impact or all of this stuff? It's the Toxic Butterflies 101. And Dreamfire represents a plot hole. Why don't Alicent and Helena, if they want to escape, go get Dreamfire and fly away? If Alicent was so concerned when Rhaenyra was taking the city, why didn't they go to find Dreamfire and instead of trying to go out of the gates for some reason? Why is Helena never concerned about when Alicent is saying we should leave? Wait a minute, what about my dragon that I'm bonded to? The show doesn't think about that stuff, and it doesn't want you to think about that stuff either. So thank you for the super chat. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate all of you guys that have super chatted. But yeah, I think it just boils down to the show doesn't want you to think about that, and the show is very surface level in its writing. Matthias, Mysaria lying to Rhaenyra about Helena makes no sense. Helena and Alicent have absolutely no power right now. That Mysaria giving up that and being manipulated by Alicent is just, again, another way of creating artificial tension. It's the exact same thing they did with Daemon and Rhaena to create that artificial tension later down the road with Rhaenyra and Daemon. Same thing. It doesn't make any sense. And yeah, I just think it's pretty stupid. The Supreme Coven says, has a raven not arrived at King's Landing to let Rhaenyra know that her 2 youngest sons have arrived alone without Rhaena? No idea. I'm assuming not, but I have no idea. Yeah, Hustle. Like, Viserys is an example of what this show could have been. It's the show at its height, but also to me, I just, yeah, I don't know. For context, Preston sometimes will blame the source material for why Condal makes a bad choice. Like, if you want to look at it from the point of view of it's not all spelled out for you, fine. But then my counter is you have George R. R. Martin. If you didn't burn that bridge, you could go to George and go, okay, so with what you've written here, what do you think I should do? How do you think I can connect this to make sense because you haven't written it all out in Fire and Blood? What would you do in this situation? You could have George R. R. Martin actively help you write the episodes. He did that with Game of Thrones. He wrote the Battle of the Blackwater. But Ryan Condal doesn't care about that. Ryan Condal cares about his own fan fiction that he thinks he can make better or have his own interpretation of Fire and Blood. I very much dislike the idea that we blame Fire and Blood for anything that has happened in this show. Because Fire and Blood gives things to Ryan Condal and he chooses not to put them in the show, and they actively make the show worse. So I do not agree with that at all. Rohit, I would not be surprised by that. Matthias, I don't know. I don't like look at the interviews really unless I see them on social media pop up and all of that stuff. So I don't agree. So that is the live stream. We went for 2 hours and 10 minutes. I think we talked about every plot line. Let me just run through it in my head. I think we talked about everything. Yeah, I think we talked about everything. We talked about Helena and Alicent. We talked about Rhaenyra. We talked about Daemon. We talked about Aegon. We talked about Criston Cole. Yeah, I think we got through pretty much everything in this episode. So again, thank you guys for all of the chats today, and you were very talkative, and the super chats. Appreciate you guys as always. It was a fun time with you guys. And so, yeah, I'm gonna end the stream there. I will have a video out tomorrow about the Butcher's Ball, Criston Cole's fate, kind of recapping the character and why I just feel like they didn't stick the landing as well as they could have. And then I'll be talking about the spoiler, or I'll be talking about the really cliffhanger, Corlys non-death thing at the end. And then on Thursday, I'll have a video talking about the same mistakes that House of the Dragon is making that Game of Thrones made. And we're repeating history. So thank you guys